that trust has been well placed because you've done a hell of a job. Use those funds to vaccinate your communities, to keep essential services going. Put cops on the beat. You put teachers in the classroom. You kept small businesses on their feet and families in their homes. Then I proposed and signed the most significant investment in our nation's infrastructure in generations. 47,000 new projects announced so far across communities, modernizing American roads, bridges, ports, airports, public transit, and more. Creating jobs now and jobs for the next decade. We went through, remember we had Infrastructure Week for 4 years? Now you're going to have Infrastructure Week for 10 years, and only every week there's going to be something every week. Look, I've stood with mayors out where you're rebuilding. The Blatnick Bridge in Wisconsin, Minnesota, $1 billion operation. The Brent Spence Bridge in Kentucky and Ohio. By the way, not only changing the economy for those communities and all up and down the coast, up and down the country, but it's doing something else. It's generating good, really good jobs. And it's bringing communities back together. And working with many of you, we're replacing every poisonous lead pipe in America for every child can drink clean water without risk of brain damage. In January, I was in Raleigh, North Carolina, where we're investing $3 billion to connect the entire state for affordable high-speed internet to end by the end of the decade. And we're doing it in all 50 states. It's critical for children to be able to do their homework, small businesses to be able to sell their products, folks to have access to telemedicine when they're driving, without driving to see their doctors if they live in the countryside. We've already saved 23 million families $75 a month on internet bills. Congress needs to reauthorize that program now, by the way. I need your help. We're also taking the most significant action to fight climate change ever. You know, I mentioned when we talked, well, I won't get started on all that. I feel pretty passionate about it. Look, I visited many of your towns as we work together to respond, rebuild, and increase reliance and resilience. But the resilience is the important part. We can't build back to what it was. You've got to build back better in everything we're doing, for real. The climate's already changed things. Resilience to extreme weather, revitalization of fence-lined communities smothered by the legacy of pollution. We're also promoting clean energy, advanced manufacturing, and other industries, a future that's made in America. You know, there used to be there's a law that I didn't even realize, and most didn't realize, that back in the 30s when they were talking about whether the unions could exist and so on and so forth, there was a lot of legislation in the Roosevelt administration. One law that got passed was any money sent to the president to spend on a federal project should be spent with American products and American workers. Well, here's what happened. A lot of folks, both parties didn't pay much attention to that, but not anymore. We build American, we buy American, and we are American. Folks, thanks in part to the CHIPS and Science Act, the United States is investing more money in research and development than ever before. During the pandemic, a shortage of semiconductor chips about the size of the tip of your little finger drove prices up for everything, from cell phones to automobiles. Well, instead of having to import semiconductors, which America invented, I might add, private companies are now investing billions of dollars to build new chip factories here in America. And we're creating tens of thousands of jobs. Many of them pay over $100,000 a year and do not require a college degree. Folks, in all, my policies have attracted $650 billion in private sector investments from companies that are bringing jobs back to America, back to the communities where they belong. For the longest time, both parties sent jobs overseas because the labor was cheaper and imported the products. Now we're sending product overseas and we're bringing the jobs back here. Look, folks, In thousands of cities and towns, we're seeing a great comeback story. Nearly 15 million new jobs created so far. That's a record. Growth is strong. Wages are rising. Inflation is down. Individuals have filed to start an additional 16 million new businesses since I took office. Each application to do that is an act of hope. Along the way, we reduced the federal deficit, I might add. It hasn't gone up, it's gone down under us. We cut it by $1 trillion already, another trillion over the next decade, and that's my goal, to cut by $3 trillion by making the wealthy and big corporations finally begin to pay their fair share. Folks, look, I'm a capitalist. If you can make $1 billion, wonderful. Just pay your fair share, man. Not 8.2%. If you paid 25%, we'd have $500 billion more over the next 10 years to cut the deficit, to provide child care, to do all the things we need to do. But there's more to do. Look, for example, I know the cost of housing is critical to families nationwide. If inflation keeps coming down, mortgage rates are going to continue to come down as well. But I'm not waiting. For those seeking to buy their first home or trade up for a little more space, I propose a tax cut that will provide $400 a month for the next 2 years. Because every family deserves a place to call home and a place to have your American dreams come true. Look, millions of renters are also out there in trouble. We're also cracking down on those landlords who break the antitrust laws by price fixing those rents. Landlords should be competing to give folks the best deal, not conspiring to charge them higher rent. We also cut red tape so more builders can get federal financing, which is already helping construct a record 1.7 million new housing units nationwide. Because of you. And the federal budget that I'm releasing today has a plan for 2 million more affordable homes, including housing, a housing innovation fund to help communities like yours build housing, renovate housing, and convert empty office space and hotels into housing. Housing for renters, for owners, middle-class families, and folks struggling just to get by. Look, and we realize many of you are dealing with homeless encampments in your cities and towns. Well, we're providing $8 billion to allow you to provide alternatives, to move unhoused people off the street, getting them into homes. The bottom line is we have to build, build, build. That's how we bring housing costs down for good. Folks, at the same time, America deserves the freedom to be safe from crime. And America is safer today than when I took office. Starting with the American Rescue Plan, I made the biggest investment in public safety effort, and you used it well. You, all of you, have done a tremendous job in your communities putting those resources to work. Using federal money to hire more officers for effective, accountable community policing. Expanding violence intervention programs to help prevent crime. Folks, we don't always hear about it, but today's violent crime rates are down nationwide, nearly every major category, to one of the lowest levels in over 50 years. But there's more to do. But we're making American progress, serious progress. Look, there's another piece of unfinished business, the border, the federal border we keep talking about. In November, my team began serious negotiations with a bipartisan group of senators led by a very serious conservative Republican senator, as well as Democrats. The result was a compromise bill with the toughest border security reforms this country has ever seen. That bipartisan deal would hire 1,500 more border security agents and officers, 100 more immigration judges to help tackle a backlog of 2 million cases that are just waiting to be heard, 4,300 more asylum officers, and new policies so they can resolve cases in 6 months instead of 6 years. 100 more high-tech drug detection machines to significantly increase our ability to stop fentanyl from being smuggled in America. By the way, no one questions those numbers. This bill would save lives, bring order to the border. It has the funds that many of our cities badly need as well. It would also give me, as president, new emergency authority or any other president temporarily shut down the border when a number of immigrants is overwhelming it to regain control of the border. Border Patrol Union endorsed it. The Federal Chamber, the National Chamber of Commerce endorsed it. And I believe, given an opportunity, the House and Senate have the votes to pass it if they just bring it to the floor and vote on it. But up to now, politics has intervened. Folks, we have to end the games. We have to deal. This deal is about a win for America. Your cities and towns, you all face the issue every single day. So it matters to you, your community, to tell your members in Congress to show up, show a little spine, and pass the bipartisan border security bill. You tell me I'm your last speaker. I've already kept you too long, but here's a go. Let me close with this. Last week, I delivered my State of the Union address, where I said, I stated what I believe to be the empirical truth. The State of the Union is strong and getting stronger. That's what I see. As I travel the country, folks often tell me how back in 2020 they were down. They'd lost their business. They'd lost their faith in the system. And then the laws we passed, the work we've done together, got them back on their feet, creating new jobs, new businesses, a new cycle of hope. We've got a long way to go in terms of, and by the way, public confidence in the economy is coming back. So when you see shovels in the ground, people going to work, I hope you feel what we do, and you feel it with a sense of pride. Pride in your hometowns, pride in making a comeback, pride in America, pride in knowing we can get big things done when we work together. Folks, as I said, I've been around a few days. But I've never been more optimistic about our future, and I mean that sincerely. We just have to remember who in God's name we are. We are the United States of America, for God's sake. There is nothing beyond our capacity. I mean nothing beyond our capacity when we work together like you all do. So let's work together. God bless you all. May God protect our troops. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Really, thank you. You've been great. You know how to do the job.